And the appeal of the opposition was heard yesterday as they renewed protest. The protesters once again demanded the departure of Faure Gnassingbe, denouncing the repression of their movement. The government had banned weekday protests on October 10th, but the opposition refused to comply with this ban, which was finally lifted on Saturday. According to a source close to the Togolese presidency, Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo made a brief visit to Lomé on Sunday for talks with his Togolese counterpart on the crisis that has shaken the country.
Avec son homologue togolais autour de la crise qui secoue en ce moment le pays.
Bridget Ajanago-Johnson is the Secretary General of the Togolese Opposition Coalition for Change. She joins us now over the phone from Togo's capital, Lomé. Good morning and a very warm welcome. Thank you for joining us. The Minister of Industry and Tourism, Yaovi Atiogbe, on Monday evening said government was taking the necessary steps for talks and dialogue with the opposition. Now the opposition, with the several protests that it has staged over 2 months, has always wanted this dialogue. Is this a first step of victory for you?
Well, yes, indeed, the government made a public communiqué announcing the release of 42 detainees arrested since August 19th and informing us that at the same time dialogue would soon take place. I would like to say that in terms of dialogue, we've always said in the 14 parties of the opposition coalition that we are open to discussions because we are aware that the legitimate claims of the people can only find adequate answers through discussions, or rather dialogue within the political class. So for us, dialogue is not a problem. However, I would like to point out that at the same time that the government is calling for this dialogue and seems to appease by releasing a number of political prisoners, we have somewhat an impression of duplicity in the actions of government since Tuesday. The first of the 3 days of this week's protests, there was still a severe crackdown by the military who were posted in 2 cities of Togo, that is Sokode and Basilo, located in the northern part of the country.
Qui ont été postés dans 2 villes du Togo, à savoir Sokode et Basilo, situées au nord Togo.
Under what conditions would the opposition be ready to participate in this dialogue envisaged by the government?
Nous avons toujours dit que
we have always said that it is necessary for the government to show that its goodwill, it must release all the political detainees, not only those who were arrested on the 19th of August, but already those who are languishing in jail since the market fires, in which the opposition was unfairly accused of having started the fires in 2 main markets in Togo, and the activists were detained without any evidence. So the government has to release all of them, but at the same time, we will want to know who are those at the height of the violence that the country has experienced, and even us as the opposition. Now, you know, since 19th August, there has been no less than 14 to about 16 deaths as a result of crackdown by security agents. There has been destruction of public and private property, and we remain convinced that it was the government itself that orchestrated the violence. Moreover, on 18th and 19th October, on the pretext that it banned marches during the week, and when we called for a march on that 18th and 19th, the government did not hesitate to bring out the militias. By militias, I mean Togolese dressed in civilians, armed with crude weapons, firearms, to terrorize the protesters, which also led to the deaths and also many casualties, especially in the interior part of the country.
Les manifestants, et cela a occasionné aussi des morts et de nombreux blessés, des morts surtout à l'intérieur du pays.
The opposition, among the demands of the opposition is the limitation of the presidential mandate to 2 terms and the resignation of President Gnassingbe. Are you willing to give up some of these demands?
The limitation on the presidential mandate and the departure of the head of state are essential and non-negotiable points for us, because Togolese people have since 1992 expressed their willingness to no longer be governed by anyone for more than 10 years. So we are ready to make compromises as long as it allows us to go through the alternatives and applies to the basics of democracy, as we had done in the early 1990s. That is by adapting the Constitution of 1992, which was tripartite, and had essential articles for the people.
Finally, hearing this dialogue proposition now from the government and with the release of some of the detained members of the opposition, including the drop of charge against President Faure, will the protests now stop?
We will not change our program. We don't trust the government. We see that the regime uses a lot of duplicity. Now it announces the liberation of people, and on the other hand, continues to use the military to clamp down and massacre the people. No one believes in the government. No one believes in its goodwill. The struggle continues, and the protest will therefore continue.